So the internet called and said, we need another unboxing video. So you gotta give the internet what it wants. So I went down to my local freight store by the harbor and bought these beautiful 6-ton Indianapolis jack stands. They are made in China. Not a usual purchaser of made in China tools. The ones that were made in the US were 4 times as expensive. So these are 6-ton jack stands. Pretty easy. In keyway lock with an additional locking mechanism and a key pin. Because when I took the tires off, you all noticed that I don't have any jack stands under Iona, and all joking aside, safety first. So, could have bought the 3-ton ones, decided against it. These were well reviewed. Figured I'd go ahead and buy 4. And they're ridiculously easy to open and use, starting with lots of cardboard. It really is that simple. Opened up, put together, and get them under Iona. So we can take a look at the fuel pump and the fuel filter, which are right underneath there, right in front of the rear axle, and desperately need to be changed. So as much as I love working on cars, I am not a fan of being underneath them. There's just something not natural about being under 2.5 tons of fun. Especially when Iona weighs about 5,000 pounds. So with the safety jacks in place, I'm gonna do this quickly. There are 3 nuts that hold the fuel pump cover in place. The first one is back here, 10 millimeter. And there's the nut on the back side. It's a plastic nut. And there's 2 10 millimeters on the front that I need to pull off as well. I've got a ratcheting wrench. Try to pull it that way. Got it. All right, there's the third one. Go back. There's a drain hose that's connected to the cover. I have to pop it out or through. Looks like through. Oh, assembly should go out the back. Oh, there it goes. Good. And there's some fun stuff that's living inside there. Yeah. So acorns, giant bugs, I don't know if they are, I'm not going to touch them, but they're out, and you can see the fuel pump assembly. All right. Fuel pump, fuel filter lining from the tank itself, return line, and this is the line that goes to the engine where we've already cut and are waiting to order the other fuel lines. So I'm going to replace this and then that, and I bought a Bosch filter and an OEM pump, and let me go ahead and grab those. I also need a Phillips, those aren't factory, another Phillips, and I'll be right back. They made a bunch of different type of filters for these, so I need to make sure before I take it off that I got the right one. Got some rags just in case, and I got a Bosch. It looks to be the same thing. It has the hose clamp ends, so that is correct. So these are good things, and there's a directional arrow you can see here from fuel pump to fuel line, so that is a good thing. Looks like we're winning on that. Question is going to be getting this off of here. Whew. Guarantee I'm going to catch some fuel. So I got some of the rags that I use to clean the engine compartment from Iona to catch the gas. Hopefully there's no pressure on the system, but there is going to be some fuel. All right. Cut most of it in the rag. That's a good thing. That hose clamp. Okay. Try this again. Hose, here we go. Hose is loose. I should not be putting my hand in there. All right, fuel coming out. And let's pull the filter out. Finger on it. All right. Filter. One of the last things I need to do on Iona is change the fuel line that goes from the tank to the fuel pump itself. The original Mercedes-Benz part number is 140 470 0075. It was about $125 on FCP Euro, and they can be a trick to take out, and I'll show you why. Let me open it. The nut that goes into the bottom of the tank is a 22 millimeter nut, and you cannot reach it with a socket because there is a hose attached to it, so a regular deep well socket won't go on. You cannot reach it with a crescent wrench or any sort of adjustable wrench, nor can you reach it with a box end wrench because there's no room to get your hand in there. So what you need to have is a set of crowfeet sockets. I got these Autobody Now socket set off of Amazon. I'll put the part number down in the description. They're about $50, but I'll show you what they are. I got a full set of metrics, And this one is a 1/2-inch drive. It goes on the end of a 1/2-inch socket, a wrench and extension, and it slides right over the nut. So it's easy to take off. So I had to have a set of these because there was no other way to get this nut off of the tank. So I'm going to go ahead and grab these, an extension and my 1/2-inch breaker bar, and we're going to break the old one loose and replace it on the 2 different hangers that are underneath the tank as well, and attach this to our fuel pump. So that's the next part. It'll be one of the last things we have to do for the fuel system on Iona. Get it started, see how much pressure it holds, and then take it for a spin. So let's go ahead and get under the car and put this hose on. So we're under the back side of Project Iona, and I'm going to go ahead and show you just how far in the main fuel line is from the tank. And you can see up in here that there's the nut we need to replace. It's a 22mm nut. I'm going to try to get on camera to show you the crowfoot and how to take this off, and we'll replace this old one with the new Mercedes-Benz factory original line. It snakes down on the other side of the drive shaft, and there are 2 places that it sets on. The first one's right here, and there's a grommet that holds it in place, and then it snakes down, and there's another grommet right there. I've already pulled it off for the second one, and we'll take it off, and with the crowfoot nut and that crowfoot wrench, and replace it. All right, coming right at you is going to be a 22mm crowfoot socket. We're going to take it past the brake line, make its way through the fuel line, get it around that hose and over the fuel line. All right. Let's see if we can get it to seat. There it is. And counterclock. Oh, there it goes, counterclockwise. Never be able to get to that any other way. Looks like the hose is turning too, so I'm gonna pull my breaker bar off. Grab a 3/8. Socket handle, which I should have had handy, but I don't. Put it on the end of my extension and start taking this off. Now, I already drained all the fuel out of Iona, so there shouldn't be any problems, but that is twisting and rotted and not looking healthy. I'm so glad I replaced this. And I don't want this hose to mangle in these lines that go to the hub. So we're gonna pull them up and out of the way and allow this old fuel line to twist freely so it doesn't bind on anything while we take it out of here. Over one, around the other, and here we go. You can tell this is original Mercedes. It's been in there for a long, long time. Pull this back off. Oh, that's not good. seem to have left my crowfoot socket up there. Pull it back down. We'll reset. Yeah, big thing is make sure it's not binding on any other lines, because I don't want to do any more damage than I need to. Come on. Tight spaces, everybody. Tight spaces. See if I can snake it around. There we go. Yep, went too far. Rinse and repeat. Right past the accumulator. Pull our socket down. Let's see if we can take this hose off by hand. She's pretty loose. Really loose, actually. Oh, yeah. See if we can gently turn it with our hands. It might be tricky getting it back in. Yeah. Why won't you turn? There it goes. A little bit at a time. Slow and steady. The way the hose is made, it's got a pretty big bend in it at the top, so it's binding on the CV axle and many other things that are in the way. Okay, third time is a charm. there's a reason it was very hard getting the threads to start. The first reason is this kink here in the hose. So when the threads are in, it's much easier when the hose is pointed towards the passenger side. However, for the hose to be correctly placed, it needs to head towards the driver's side, twist back through this retainer, and then go through the retainer towards the pump right here. So off camera, in a lot of words you can't really use on YouTube, I have it placed. I have the threads hand tightened. They were going in both clockwise and counterclockwise, so it's nice and loose. So I need to tighten it up with the claw foot wrench, and then attach this back to the fuel assembly once I get it back in, and attach it to the 4 areas where the rubber grommets hold it, so it isn't affected by road vibrations. So that's what I'm going to do next, is tighten up that 22mm nut, and yeah, that's next. All right, new vantage point, new perspective. Hose is in. It is on the hanger, and then the second hanger, I've got my 22mm crowfoot. We're going to go ahead and hand tighten it. I do not know what the torque specs are on this nut. I couldn't find anything literature-wise regarding that. Do this little by little, quarter turn at a time or so. Until she's all the way in. A little bit of righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. Yeah, she's going in nice and easy now. Just had to change my perspective and route the hose towards the passenger side, so I get the threads in loosely. All right, nicely. Never would have gotten this with any other tool. Yep, about a quarter turn at a time. Made sure the hose wasn't kinked. Said a bunch of 4-letter words off camera. And we'll finish up the main hose from the tank. Nope. The main hose from the tank, as well as the hose from the fuel filter. Go ahead and fire if Iona. Oh, starting to get hand tight. I will go back and make sure that this is not leaking. Lord knows nobody wants a fuel leak. I think that might be it. All right. We're gonna deem it tight for right now. Fantastic. Hose is in, it's not crimped. These are about the right place. A little bit of gas drop right there. That grommet's in, that grommet's in, and there is a reason that this was never replaced, because it is not easy. All right, let me go ahead and grab the fuel pump assembly. So I've never had to take one of these single-use clamps off before. Everything that was under here is mismatched, so side cutters. Let's see if we get a good bite on it. All right, nice snap, twist. Let's get this hose off, because I'm going to replace every one of the fuel lines in Iona. They are old. 1997 old. And man, that is not going to be fun. Don't want any sparks, that's for dang sure. Whew, baby. Sounded like it snapped. Yep, it did. Fantastic. So we're gonna take this off, slide it off, if it'll come off, and then pull this hose off and quickly replace it with the one I have to length. Nope. Let me get the razor blade. Cut that end. Make sure it'll be easier to come off. There it goes. All right. So I've taken the fuel pump assembly off of Project Iona, and the two rubber hangers and the whole assembly comes off as one once you disconnect it from the fuel line that goes to the fuel rail to the fuel pressure regulator, as well as the line that comes from the tank. I bought a new one of those. And this is just a regular piece of hose which is clamped on to a hard line that runs under the driver's side. So we're going to leave it assembled, take one piece off at a time, and then reconnect a piece of our new hose and clamp it off. Again, this had multiple different types of clamps on it, so let's take it, loosen these up. Nice old hard fuel lines that are on the car. Never any good. Alright, this is a Hengst, looks like H82WK02 filter, made in Europe. The Bosch filter is a 0450-905-275, same length, same style end. Take this one off. What needs to be noted is the way that the fuel goes from the pump to the rail. Make sure that that stays the same direction. And the pump goes in and out one way because of these plastic ears for the electrical line. And the OEM Mercedes-Benz was not available, so I've got a Pierburg. Looks like part number D74196. It appears to be an exact replacement for the one that's on there, for both connectors for hose and electric. This one is an automotive. I don't know who makes that. So this one is a Pierburg. We'll replace it. And then do a hose. Connect that with our single ear clamps. And put the whole assembly back on the car. I ended up using the 12mm to 15mm outer diameter clamps. On this one. Leave those loose in here and go ahead and put it back on Iona. Alright, I've got my complete fuel assembly we put together on the bench, including our new Pierburg pump, our new Bosch filter, and the whole assembly sets up in here, kind of like such. These rubber grommets, 2 on each side, hook up here to keep the vibrations down from the body. So we're gonna put the ones in the back on first. That's how I took it off. And then the one on the front. Is the least slide on. There's that. Easier if you go from the top and kind of pull them down. That'll lip there without getting your glove caught in the way. All right, and they feel they poke out the grommet. You'll know that they're on. That one, and finally. That one. All right, all 4 grommets are on. Fuel assembly's in there. I'll make sure they're not gonna bind to anything, anywhere at any time. I got my single-use clamps on. We're gonna go ahead, pull that one off, slide the assembly back, drop, of course, drop our clamp, reach for a new clamp, laugh at ourselves, put it on, and then slide the main hose line from the fuel tank to the pump. grab our wrench, and we're one step closer to the entire fuel assembly being replaced. The whole thing, tip to tail. Pinched and on and tight. Same goes with the hose from the filter. To the rail. Last thing, making sure nothing is rubbing, nothing is touching, nothing is binding, and tighten up the whole assembly. Not binding, not touching, not binding, not touching, not loose, not loose, not loose, not loose. All right, now we need to wire up the fuel pump. Short lead on top. Large lead on bottom. Washer, the nut. Lock washer. And the nut. And tighten it first. Millimeter wrench. Starting to get tight. All right. Okay, I got the bottom one tight and the grommet cover on for the nut and the lock nut. Same thing with the top. It is not twisting. Same thing with the fuel filter. Tighten up the assembly. Made sure that the rubber grommets were on for the frame, so it's nice and wiggly, but isn't binding anywhere. The fuel line from the pump to the filter is tight. The filter is in the correct direction. And let's move our camera here. Pull it up now. And you can also see that our connection is tight from the filter up to the rail to the fuel pressure regulator, and that our clamp is tight from the main hose we replaced that goes up to the tank, and making sure that that is in there and seated as well. Next thing to do, Put a couple gallons of premium in it, see if she's gonna leak anywhere, and then test the fuel pressure regulator and see how she's doing with the new filter, new pump, and all brand new fuel lines. Okay, so I put about 5 gallons of gas in Iona about 15 minutes ago, and no leaks from the tank, which is good. This is unpressurized, by the way. No leaks at the fuel pump. I would expect no leaks from the filter or any of the new lines beyond the pump because there's no pressure in the system. But I'm going to go ahead and turn her on. Key on engine off, let it build pressure, go through its starting cycle, and then check for leaks again. But hopefully stays dry as a bone like it is right now. Let's find out. Okay, I put 5 gallons of premium in Iona. Took 3 cranks to get her to start. Holding 40, looks like 41 pounds of static pressure with the engine off. We're gonna come back and see how long it takes for this to bleed down. I'm hoping it doesn't. And I've started her a few times and she starts on the first crank. Very happy with that. She was not doing that before. So fuel pump, fuel filter, fuel pressure regulator, fuel lines, all those things seem to be working. Let's just see if she holds pressure now. So, after all that work, you're probably wondering, what's the static pressure in the fuel rail? After 1 hour, Iona's fuel rail was holding 38 pounds per square inch. I could not be more excited about that number. After all the hard work, after all the effort, holding a fantastic pressure. And I want you all to hear how she starts. Fuel pump. Like that, 1 crank, and she's running. In this last episode, we changed the fuel pump, the fuel filter, the main line from the tank to the fuel pump, the line that goes from the pump to the filter, and the line that goes from the filter up to the fuel rail. We've now completed the entire fuel system on Project Iona, and she runs fantastic. Very, very happy with the work and the outcome. So with that, if you like the content, please subscribe, hit the like button. With that, we'll go ahead and put her in drive and give y'all a little bit of driving footage here for this beautiful Florida afternoon. Making sure to look both ways, left and right, and go ahead and put some miles on Project Iona. Thanks everybody for watching. Enjoy. See you again on the next part of Project Iona.